How are you guys doing today? For those of you who don't know, my name is Jermaine McNeil. I own Clear and Strategic. It's a credit restoration company, credit repair company, as well as we build business credit as well. So, right off the bat, I know you're looking at this live and you're wondering, why is it everything is in pink, right? Obviously for cancer, but there are two reasons specifically that I have everything in pink. The first reason is this: my nephew is still in high school. He's in the 10th grade this year. He was diagnosed with a certain type of cancer about a month ago. He's going through chemo. Things are working out with him. Um, I forgot to grab the link, but in the description, I'm going to throw a link in there. His mom actually is a teacher. She works. Um, and obviously she's out with her son with regards to this, and she's needing a little bit of help on the funding to help so she can continue to be by her son's side. I will put that link in the video, so check that out with regards to that. And then the second reason why I am going to do something really quick, I want to show you guys a video really quick. I'm going to drop it in here.
What is the number one thing people regret before they die? And this study is made by a nurse that was taking care of like patients at an old
retirement home.
Yes, nursery home. So number 5, I wish I had let myself be happier. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. Many have become so caught up on their own lives that they had let go of the golden friendships because they were caught up on the whole, like, I gotta get to work, I gotta make it.
Yeah.
That's huge. Number 3, we have, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. The whole thing with this is like they lost time with their loved ones and family members because they got caught up on the hard work that they disconnect from relationships. So number 1, I wish I had the courage to live a true life to myself, not what others expect from me.
So, as you saw from that video, that was a video I put up about 24 hours ago. It's probably the fastest viewing short. It was a short that I put on my YouTube. A lot of people saw it. And the second reason why I wanted to talk about this is that video I put up, and in the comment section, I asked this person to be on the live. I'm not sure if they did. They didn't respond. But I will show you the comment that actually came from this. And here is the comment here. It says, as the cancer slowly takes me, the only one thing I really regret is messing things up with my family. So, not trying to get dark on anyone or anything along those lines. That's just sort of kind of where I've been. I'm going to explain a little bit more as far as how death has impacted our family. But I just want to give you an update of who I am. I want to let you know I'm a real person, right? I'm an individual. I'm not somebody who's like a robot or anything along those lines. I have problems. I have issues. I have circumstances and situations just like anybody else. But when I saw that comment, it was sort of kind of tough, it hit me with regards to that. And, if you have family out there, if you haven't talked to them, you haven't communicated with them, if you can, try and do so. I keep looking over to the left just because that's where my actual computer is. If anyone puts any comments or anything along those lines, it's down there. So you see that. But one of the things we got to do is, you can't take life for granted, right? You only live one life, and you gotta make the most of that life. So that's the situation with regards to that. Just to give you a brief synopsis, of what's been going on for the last 2 months when it comes to my family in particular. My wife, my mother and father-in-law passed away about 2 months ago now, and it's been really hard on my wife. I'm not sure if she'll see this live or not, but I know it's been tough on her. This situation has taught me so much with regards to life and how to deal with it and so forth. So for those of you who don't know, I was raised by just my grandmother. My father, he died my senior year in high school, got caught in the streets and drugs and all that. That's the sob story that everyone always tells. A lot of people have. Let me not say everyone tells, but a lot of people have. And so the way I look at death and the way that my wife looks at death is completely different. But I've messed up and botched so much. So if you are watching, or if you do see this, to my wife, I apologize. I want to be the best husband that you need me to be. And I won't go into detail with regards to that, because I know a lot of you guys are here for questions and answers with regards to credit and debt. But ultimately, I want you guys to understand something. On another death, my older brother, he died at the beginning of this year as well. Same thing, drugs type situation. With my mother and father-in-law, obviously it wasn't that type of situation. They died together. But nevertheless, it's been sort of kind of tough and strenuous. And so then you have, people with cancer, you have all these things that are going on. And ultimately, the message behind all of this is, do not take anything for granted. Okay, try not to take anything for granted with regards to everything. So let's get into the credit and debt side of things, right? So now you know my personal stuff. Hey, I'm a human being. We all have issues. We all have struggles. But if we can stick together, mind together, hold each other up when things are tough, life will be a lot better in that aspect. So with credit and debt, the video that I put up, I think it was either on Monday or Tuesday of this week, which today is only Wednesday, so maybe it was yesterday. It dealt with mental health and debt in general, right? So now, for those of you who are watching, if you have any questions with regards to credit or debt, put it in the comment section as it's stating up there, and I'll answer them. But mental health with credit and debt is a very, very, very true thing. I speak from experience, right, with regards to myself. Initially, obviously, when I was younger and up into, my early to late 20s, when it came to debt, I knew I had a lot of debt. But ultimately, it didn't really matter, right? I had a job where I was making pretty good money, and I didn't have to apply for a car or apply for, a house or even get an apartment at that time. So the debt didn't really matter. And that's, I think, with a lot of people in general, when it comes to debt in general. Like, if it's not bothering you, if you're young, you're living at home, maybe you're 23, 25 years old, you got some debt, and it doesn't bother you. But eventually it will start to bother you. If you want to know when, that's when it comes time to apply for something new, right? When you apply for any type of credit, whether it's a credit card, a car loan, apartment, and a house, a mortgage, which is the American dream, everyone wants a home, there's a process called underwriting, right? And so when you have to go through that process of the underwriting, when it comes to getting approved for that loan, is when you'll find out, when you have bad credit, that you won't be approved for it. And so a lot of times I come across people, and even myself, let me speak for myself, right? I remember the first time I applied for, or the second time I tried to apply, no, it was the first time I tried to apply for a car, and I wasn't approved for the car, right? And at the time, I knew I probably had debt. I didn't understand credit or anything along those lines. They were just like, hey, it's not really much. We can't get you into nothing. And so they had the pay here, buy here now type spot that they told me to go through. I had so much pride at the time. And I was just like, what? They called it special financing. I didn't even understand what that was. And I just left the lot or whatnot. And I needed to get back and forth to work. And so that's the first time I realized that credit mattered, right? And so I didn't understand credit, but I knew, okay, there was something going on with my credit that stopped me from being able to do it, to obviously get a car. And then it came time to applying for an apartment, right? And so I'm looking at trying to apply for this apartment. I'm putting this information in, and I thought, you know what? Hey, maybe I didn't get a car because, what with my understanding now, you would think, okay, well, that's an asset, with regards to it. Maybe I could get the car, but hey, whatever. But living, everyone has to live. And so, I have the money. I'll be able to pay the rent. And at this time, this apartment complex was relatively new. And so they had a lot of applicants, and I was declined. And then I asked the guy why. And like most spots, a lot of times they'll say, your credit was bad, but they won't tell you what was on your credit or whatever the circumstance is. I'm not sure if that happens now because Thank goodness I'm not getting declined for credit anymore. But I remember back then, like asking the person who you filled the application with why you didn't get approved, and they'll just say, hey, your credit was bad or whatever, but they would never go into detail with regards to it. And so then that started the mental problems when it came to everything. It was like, man, I'm making okay money, but my credit sucks, and so I can't get approved for anything. And that'll start a snowball effect. But just to let you guys know with regards to this and just giving you the truth of the matter, what happened was I started doing collections, right? I started in collections. Those of you who follow my thing, or you may know me personally, I've done debt collections for over 15 years. I've done it all from skip tracing to making the calls. I worked in the legal department. And then I've owned 2 debt collection companies. And what happened was, as a collector, and I'm going to be honest, I was a cutthroat collector because it was all about the bottom line, right? I didn't really care about any feelings with regards to any individuals. It was just like, you owe this debt. You're the one who got the debt. You're the one who owes it. So now pay me, right? And, I would give settlements and so forth, but it just depended on the attitude and what the person was. But I was cutthroat. And what happened was I went through a financial hardship myself. And when you go through a financial hardship, then you're able to empathize with other individuals who are having financial hardships. And so at this time span, I still didn't know what credit was about. I'm probably close to about 30. I didn't understand credit. I knew what it was because obviously I worked in debt collections. Basically you don't pay your debt. They send it to collections, and it's another form of way of trying to get the money from you. And then in certain situations, they can sue you. But when I went through my situation, as far as finances goes, and things were very tough for me at that time span, that's when my whole perspective changed, right? It's not just about somebody getting a credit card and charging up and not paying. That was the cynical thought process that I had when it came to credit when I was a collector trying to collect the money. It was like, oh yeah, you got this credit card, you owe $6,000 and you're trying to get out of it, right? You're trying to finesse your way out of it and you owe this money. But the reality is sometimes with credit, and even myself, when I realized it, it's not about just defrauding a credit card company. Sometimes, if you don't have the correct knowledge and understanding on how to use a credit card, what to do with a credit card, you can find yourself in a problem, right? I'll use this as an example. I've helped at one point when I was still in collections, I would still clean up friends and family's credit because by this time I understood credit. And I would show you how to get that first $10,000 or $25,000 credit card. But I never gave anyone any education on how to spend that credit, right? How to use the credit card. And all that would happen is they would slowly but surely, I give them, 2 months to a year. They'll buy one thing because how most people look at credit is it's like, okay, oh, there's a 70-inch TV. I've always wanted a 70-inch TV. I got $5,000 worth of credit. This TV's, $2-3 grand, maybe $1,500 on the lower end. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to use this credit card and I'm going to get this TV, the 70-inch TV, get it at home because I can buy it now. And then I'll just pay slowly. I'll pay the monthly fees on the credit card and I'm good to go. And that's a big no-no. Because what ends up happening is it's that 60-inch TV. Next thing you know, it's those brand new shoes or a brand new purse or brand new whatever it is that you don't necessarily need. And next thing you know, I found so many people before I start giving the educational aspect on how to use the credit and so forth. Next thing you know, you $25,000 in max out on that credit card, right? And then the minimum payment, depending on the interest rate on your credit card, can be $400 to $700. That's a whole nother car payment. Some people's rent on the lower end, and so forth. And so you're paying that $700 towards that $25,000 debt, right? And what ends up happening is you're gonna fail eventually because you see that the $700, let's say on the top end, you're paying $700 on that $25,000 payment. You're paying the minimum, which is $700. You're paying that. And then you look and you notice that $500 or $600 of that goes towards interest and $100 only pays the principal. And eventually that $700 starts becoming hard. And if you have another credit card or another situation or something or emergency pops up, and next thing you know, everything is sucking, right? And then eventually you can't afford to pay it. It's charged off, it's sent to collections. And hopefully you're not sued with regards to the account. So that mental health with regards to debt, when people are in a lot of debt, and there are a lot of people, whether it's student loans, which I think is one of the biggest things with regards to debt. Student loans is one of those things, man. You go and you're getting all this. They'll give you a student loan for nothing. You ain't even got to basically show or prove that you have any income to pay it back. Why? Because the thought process is you go to school, right? Once you're done with school, they don't start charging you to pay those student loans off until you get that job. 6 months out of school, typically you start working, and then you can start making those payments. But there are a lot of people who get these degrees in certain stuff because at 18 years old, none of us know what we really want to do, right? You don't know what you want to do. You're just going to college, whether it's your parents or you just know it's a good thing to do. You're supposed to do it. If you didn't get a scholarship or anything along those lines, you end up getting a degree in something. I'm not going to even name any of these degrees because I don't want to offend anyone, but you get a degree in something that you don't even use it for. And so now you got this 60,000 plus tag of a student loan that you actually owe. Now, one of the things with student loans is as long as you're making that monthly payment, as far as your credit goes, it's considered a positive trade line. As long as you're making the payments on time, and as time builds, it actually will help your credit. But ultimately, with those credit cards, went on a tangent a little bit, what ends up happening is you end up owing a lot of money. You can't afford to pay it. It gets into collections. Hopefully you're not sued. I get a lot of people comments where, they are being sued or they were served with a summons to appear in court and they're wondering what the best method, what to do with regards to getting rid of it. Obviously, I own a credit restoration company. I do a thing called factual disputing. Now, in the comment section now, the people who are viewing, we got a couple people in here are viewing. If you have a question about credit or debt, put it in the comment section. I promise you I'll answer that question. That's one of my tags on YouTube, but it's true. If you put a comment down here right now live, now's your time to ask for your questions with regards to credit. But nevertheless, I do a thing called factual disputing. I'm going to do a video on factual disputing. But basically what I'm doing is looking at your credit profile. Now, it's very key that you get a credit report that reports all three credit bureaus, right? The credit bureaus is Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. You have to get all three. One of the big companies that I use is called Smart Credit. If you wanted to check them out down below for $1, you can use the link and actually be able to pull that credit report. Now, a free way that you can do it, you can go through Credit Karma, which gives you Equifax and TransUnion absolutely for free. It is a Vantage score, but this is not about the scores. This is about looking at your credit report. And then you could go to Experian directly, which gives you a actual FICO score, but you can look at that credit report too. So if you have to go the free way, you don't have much money, you can go that route. It's, you're going to be looking at two different apps and so forth, but it will work. And what you do is you look at how it's being reported on all three of your credit reports. And something like the date of last activity, which is a big one, they mess up all the time. If you see that is inaccurate, even though you owe on that debt, even though it's a credit card that you know that you owe, this is where you can hold the creditors with their feet to the fire. And by law, they're supposed to report the information accurate, right? And so if it's shown on Experian, the date of last payment, there's a date that comes up, and it's different from what they report on Equifax, which is different from what they report on TransUnion. There's a letter you can draft up, and you can get that account removed, right, within that allotted time span. And so that's what I do, is factual disputing. So whether you owe it or you don't owe it, it's very key that, I'll look at those I'll look at your credit profiles, and if there's anything inaccurate across the board from the top all the way to the bottom, because these businesses, why would you report a different date to Equifax than you do on Experian. It should be pretty simple. You should report all of the correct data. When they don't do that, you can expose them with regards to that and get that account removed off of your credit profile. And that's what most people come to you for. But there are two other places. There are two other parts. Now, if you have any questions, again, put it in the comment section. I'll answer them. Credit or debt, anything that you may have. Or if you just want to say hi, put hello down there. But there are two other parts to cleaning up your credit, which is very vital with regards to that. Thank you for the thumbs up. Those of you who are in here, the 7 people, let me get 7 thumbs up. There are two parts, right? The first part is your budgeting. I cannot stress you. I don't care. I know it's boring. I pull teeth with my wife at times just to go over our budget because it's the same. It's the same thing. Why do we keep going over it? It's the accountability and so forth. Your budget tells a story, right? Obviously, we know the big quote, the Jay-Z, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. That comes with your budget. But secondly, it'll tell whether you need to make more money, you're spending too much money, and a plethora of other things with regards to that, right? So by understanding your budget, you'll know how much money you have left over. A big thing that I say, and this goes through every single consultation that I have on, I'll tell you to do this. Write down, we'll get your bank statements for 2 months. Write down every single bill you have all the way down to what? A stick of bubble gum. I don't care what it is. Whatever you transact, if it's a 50 cent, whatever. You write them all down. Then you need to make 2 more lists. You got to have a necessity list and you got to have a luxury list. Necessities are stuff that you have to pay, right? You're going to have to pay it no matter what. Your rent, gas in your car payment, car insurance. These are things that you're going to have to pay. And then you have luxuries, stuff that you don't necessarily need. Now, depending on how bad your credit is, the luxuries, the worse your credit is, the luxuries should be down to a bare minimum. And you should be taking care of those charge-off and bad accounts on your credit profile. Luxuries can be even a gym membership sometimes. I mean, what are you doing going to a gym, taking care of the physical body when you can do it for free at home when your personal credit is not up to par? So you make those lists. Get rid of the luxuries. And sometimes, if you're married, I recommend you sit down with your wife. But sometimes you're going to have to go through all of that information with your wife. And your husband or your significant other. And that information of the luxuries, you got to get rid of them. Because once you get rid of those luxuries, and you may find it may be $200-300. I had a client come to find out he was spending almost $2,500 on a bunch of stuff that he just didn't need. And he was telling me at first he couldn't afford to pay his bills, his credit cards down. Come to find out $2,500 on luxuries. We took that, and in no time, he had all his credit cards paid down and he was in good standings. But it's very important to understand that part of it, right? And then the second part is the part that I explained to you guys with regards to getting rid of the bad stuff. So here we have the first one. Is it true that the debtor has to send you a notice of the debt before sending it to collections? I have a debt that didn't hit my credit until years after. Yes, by law. So I'm going to tell you something. By law, yes. We're supposed to send what is called a demand letter in the mail, right? A demand letter comes to you letting you know that you actually owe the debt. Now, where the problem lies in, and I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, is did you move, right? So when you originally applied for that credit that was on your credit report, or that you were approved for, that obviously went to collections, there's a Rosenthal Act, which basically means that you as a consumer, you have to update your creditors with your current address. So when they send that letter in the mail, which is the demand letter, to you, which is the notice that you're asking about, if it goes to a wrong address, if you live in an apartment, I mean, how many people actually do mail returns? I mean, we bought a house about a year and a half ago. When mail comes back that's not here, in the beginning, we were put mail return. After a while, you just start throwing the stuff away, or you put it back in the inbox and say something. But if there's no mail return and they mail that letter specifies that you have 30 days to dispute the validity of the debt. And after that 30 days, if you don't dispute the validity of the debt, they assume that it's yours. And so that's how that can be placed on your credit or something like that with regards to that, or seeing something on your collections account. A lot of other times is if the debt was sold, purchased and sold to other companies, there's a possibility that that happened and was sent out. Now, what I'm going to tell you, there's no way to prove that you didn't receive a letter, right? So what it gets gray because I'll be honest with you. I worked for a debt collection company. We never sent out demand letters. We never sent out a letter ever. And when the consumer, you would call us back and say, hey, I didn't receive a letter in the mail, I would automatically say, okay, we'll email you a demand letter. We mailed it to, and I'll look for the address on the file and I'll just say we mailed it to you and we never really did. Um, and that'll happen. But then there are cases where we do mail it, and if you didn't get the letter because you moved or whatever the circumstance is, they can actually still throw it on your credit after that time spent. So it gives you the 30 days. So remember the Rosenthal Act. That means that you have to update your creditors with your current information. And that's why I'm a big advocate on that, because always tell people, you have people who run and they hide, and I get it. You don't want the calls, you don't want them bothering you, you don't want nothing happening. But by not having an updated address on your credit profile, when you get your information, the information that verifies who you are, if there's an old address on there, when creditors are looking to send you a demand letter, one of the things they'll do is pull a copy of your credit. And if it's an old address, that's the address that they'll have for you, or the address that you had when you originally got the car loan or the credit card or whatnot, and they'll mail it out. And if you ignore it, that's why I always tell people, give your current address and make sure you open that mail, because if you open up the mail and you see you have 30 days to dispute the validity, you can send a debt validation letter, which I give absolutely for free. If you want a copy of that, in the description, it should be a debt validation letter in there. And then that holds the debt collection company to the fire. So once we get that debt validation letter, which you have to send certified mail, because if you send a regular mail, how can you prove that we actually got it and you actually sent it right? But you send it certified mail, and once we get that, there's a bunch of questions in there with regards to the debt in general, sometimes signed contract, a lot of that information, and it'll put that debt collection company feet to the fire. And a lot of times, when I was purchasing and buying debt, I was not buying that more expensive data. So let me explain to you guys this, because I know my mind's be just, if you have a question, put it in the comment section. But when I used to purchase debt, you buy it in bulk, right? Whether you're buying 100 accounts or 1,000 accounts, right? And when we're buying the debt, the older the debt, the cheaper it is for us to buy it, right? Number two, if we wanted signed contracts and so forth with regards to the debt, it shot the premium up double or triple the amount. So I may buy, let's say, 1,000 accounts, just to give you an idea. On those 1,000 accounts, let's say I spent five grand for these 1,000 accounts. If I wanted to sign contracts and so forth with regards to the debt as well, that 5 grand will probably go up to $13,000. So most debt collection companies are hoping that you don't send a debt validation letter to them with regards to the debt, because most of us, I wasn't paying that extra premium for the account. What we were hoping for, because in order to have the debt and so forth, and most of us, I would say 80% of debt that is purchased are typically that those consumers actually own the debt, and you have to do it. Okay, I'm an active duty service member that was stationed overseas. We use the CRM boxes on post. Also, the account was supposed to be closed due to having orders to return stateside, but was never closed. Okay, so then in that case, all you would have to do is have the proof, right? So whatever it was that, because you're in the military, you should have some type of document showing that, that account was supposed to be closed out due to the fact that you weren't here or whatever the circumstance is. And all you have to do is dispute it. So when you dispute it, grab that letter, which is going to be key, and say, hey, this is the situation with regards to it. I'm asking this account to be disputed because I'm guessing it's on your credit profile. And if it's not on your credit, then I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. But if it is on your credit, then yeah, dispute it. Send that letter, say, hey, exactly what you said, and they'll do that. Bro, I need emergency help. If I can communicate privately, let me know. I know it costs money, so just let me know. Yep. So Walter, no biggie with regards to that. What I'll do is um I'm gonna put my email at barrett.com. I'll put my email in the chat. jmcneil at barrettrecovery.com. That's not right. So it's jmcneil at barrettrecovery.com. So for those of you who want to be private, I understand. You know, you don't want your business all out on live and so forth. So that's my email address. Go there, shoot me a text. In general, anybody, but Walter Brown in particular, shoot me a text there. I mean, shoot me an email there, and then I'll send you a link, and then we can talk and I can figure out. It's a free 20-minute consultation. I'll assess where you're at, see what your goals are, what's going on, and hey, man, we can get you where you need to be. Just be careful. This is one of the things I want to talk about, man. Be careful of any company out there that's telling you they're going to clean your credit up and clear up everything in 30 days. Be leery and weary of those type of companies. A lot of them are fly by night. No one can guarantee you a time span with regards to getting rid of negative accounts. Period, point blank. I've had clients in 30 to 60 days, I've gotten rid of 7 accounts. I've had clients and I don't go past 6 months. So typically around that 6-month time span, I'll know, okay, hey, these accounts, we won't be able to get them removed because of the factual disputing and everything's been updated correctly. But nevertheless, when companies are saying that, I wouldn't do it. Freezing your secondary accounts is not a great ploy with regards to disputing accounts, right? A lot of companies tell you, yeah, freeze those secondary accounts. So when you dispute them, they can't access this information and it'll come off. I used to work in debt collections. When the account will be frozen, yes, it will be deleted. But what they don't tell you is 30 days to about 90 days after you've done that. Let me make sure I ain't got no more things. Okay, I'm going to answer that question after. 30 to 90 days after that, when you want to apply for new credit, guess what? You got to unfreeze those secondary accounts. And once you unfreeze those secondary accounts, a lot of those accounts will come right back on your credit profile. So don't do that. Freezing your profile is not for disputing efforts. It's to actually lock your credit profile and to help you with regards to fraud, right? So if you've had a fraudulent situation, or if you have really good credit and you don't want somebody getting a hold of your credit, freezing those secondary accounts and freezing your credit reports is great, because if someone tries to apply for credit in your name and it's not, obviously you, and if it's your credit profile is locked, then it'll get declined, and so you don't have to worry about fraud. Okay, when a debt collector sues you, how do you answer the summons? Okay, so typically when you're sued, you should be served with the summons to appear, right? In that summons, you have to file an answer. So you're going to have to go with your summons, and there should be some paperwork with regards to that suit, and you have to file an answer. Typically, when you file an answer, if you haven't got it, Tracy, I don't know if you've gotten my free letter bundle, but there's a debt validation letter. I recommend that you file an answer with that debt validation letter, because a lot of times, same thing through the affidavit of indebtedness, when they're filing suit, all they really need is your first, last name, the account number, and your social or an address or so forth. Because what they're banking on is you as a consumer knowing that you owe, let's say Capital One. I always use Capital One as an example. They're banking on the fact that you actually owe Capital One, and you know that. So when they serve you, a lot of times you as a consumer, you get really scared. You're like, oh crap, I gotta pay this, which to a certain point is true. But by filing that, and I'm moving next week. Okay. Ooh. So by filing an answer with that, it'll help you out. I tried to download it. Okay, so it should work. And check, shoot me an email if you don't get it. I could personally send you that debt validation letter. But check your junk mail. It's going to come from Jay McNeil, and because I send mass texts, a lot of times I go to people's junk mail. So once you do download it, Tracy, do that. But yeah, file an answer, and send a debt validation letter with regards to that. Make sure you certify, send one to the attorney who's trying to sue you as well, or who's actually going to sue you with regards to that. But yeah, yep. So that's that with regards to that. You got any questions? Put it down in the comment section. This is your time, because as I start growing, one of the things that I'm starting to know is it's becoming harder and harder to answer comments. So for those of you who come to my lives, watch my lives, get the information, obviously, it's your time to ask for questions, and I'll definitely get it. Okay, Tracy? So hopefully that'll help you out. Check that with regards to that, man. Getting sued can be a very scary thing in the beginning, but no problem. But understand that it's just a part of trying to get the money from you, right? When you're served with the summons, you still have a time frame with regards to taking care of that account, right? You can always settle outside of court and not get that judgment, because once you get a judgment on your credit profile, it stays for 10 years. Now, let's say you don't pay that judgment. They can get a writ and redo it. So for 20 years, you can have a judgment on your credit profile. Now, obviously, you can still dispute it through factual disputing. If it's not accurate across the board, it'll do that. Yes. So with that debt validation letter, when you file an answer, it'll be in the courts. So take it there, and then I do recommend that you certify, send it to the attorney as well, so that way you know that they have a copy, and then they'll have it. So if they got to get with information, they'll do that. How will you know if a trade line is applied to your credit? So ultimately, trade lines are revolving and installment accounts. How you can tell if a trade line was applied to your credit, I'm guessing you're saying to see if the trade line is actually on your credit, January official. The way that you can tell is by pulling a copy of your credit. So what happens is let's say you went to the car dealership and got a brand new car and you approved for the car. Typically, it's going to take 30 to 60 days, sometimes even 90 days before that actual trade line is on your credit profile. The only way you're going to know is when you look at a copy of your credit report and see it on there, whether it's negative or positive. That's why I recommend that ultimately, if you have the money, invest in something like Smart Credit or some type of credit monitoring company, and it'll help you out with regards to that. Yes. So yeah, sign up for a credit monitoring company, so that way, as soon as a trade line, whether it's negative or positive, is added on your credit report, you'll get the notice. And it'll tell you, even free through Credit Karma. You go through Credit Karma. I have the app. I use Smart Credit, but I have Credit Karma because I've had it for many years, maybe 8 or 9 years. And anytime something fluctuates or changes with your credit profile, it'll send you a response, and you'll get that response, and you'll know, okay, so it, even with regards to fraud, instead of freezing the secondary your secondary reports and so forth, and freezing your credit profile, by having credit monitoring, it'll let you know. So if someone applied for something, there'll be an inquiry. You'll get an inquiry notice, and it'll say, hey, did you apply for, or it'll say, hey, someone applied for a whatever company, and you can jump on it. For those of you who don't have credit monitoring, that's what ends up happening. I can't tell you, even people with good credit. I was in a group called Team. Together, everyone achieves more. It was a networking group. And I can't tell you how many stories I would hear where we're talking people who make really good money and have good credit, and had what they thought was good credit. And all of a sudden, they go apply for something, and it goes there. I use Experian, and I don't see it. So if you're saying the new trade line that's on your credit profile, it's only Experian. So are you talking about January official? Let me know if you're talking about a negative trade or a positive trade on your credit profile. Just quickly put that in there. I'll tell you that. But by not having credit monitoring, they find out later that they had some collections on their credit profile from 3 years ago, and they didn't get the notification letting you know eventually when it actually jumped on there. I use Experian, and I don't see it. So yeah, so January, I don't know if you're talking about a negative trade line. So when I say negative, like a collections account or a charge off, or are you talking about a positive trade line? But if you're only looking at Experian, even on the negative side, this is why I say it's important to get all 3 credit bureaus: Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So if you have Experian, then you can go to Credit Karma for free, and you can get Equifax and TransUnion. But sometimes, and I used to do this when I owned a debt collection company, when I'm reporting stuff on people's credit profile, I'll report it on one of the credit bureaus. So if you're looking at Experian, but I have the negative trade on Equifax, then you as a consumer would never know that it was on your credit profile. That's why you have to get all three with regards to stuff. And then typically with positive credit, when it's being thrown on your as a trade line, typically it's going to be on all three credit bureaus. But there are, some credit bureaus like Self and, all those other little ones that are different where they're reporting like you paying rent or something like that, and it's only on Experian. And I'm not a big advocate of those because underwriting, they know. So just because you pay your energy bill and they're reporting it on your credit report and you're paying some self-reporting company to put it on Experian, as an underwriter, when I'm looking to approve you for credit, yeah, on Experian, it may boost up your credit score because it's showing that you're actually paying it. But as an underwriter, I know, that's a self-reporting one. So sometimes they don't even count it. That's why I'm not a big advocate of those self-reported ones. It's a positive trade. I had it applied in May, and I still don't see it. I also use Capital One for TransUnion, and I also have access to the Equifax report. Okay, so it's a positive trade line. So was it one of those self-reporting? Was it an authorized user account? What was it? Because if you did it way back in, you're saying you applied for it, you did it a while back, it should be reporting on there. But it's key to see what it is because some credit lines, they don't even report. When you go to those pot lots and stuff, it don't report. So yeah, Equifax. So yeah, I still don't see it. Yeah, so it depends. So what, if you don't mind, put in the comment section, what type of account are you trying to, what type of account is it that should be reported on your credit profile, January? Put that in the comment section, and I'll be able to help you out. And anyone else, if you have any questions, put it in the comment section. I'm telling you, now is the time to get it. Is it smart to pay off collections if it won't delete from your credit until 7 years goes through the debt collection removal program? This is an awesome question. In January, I ain't forgot, so put it in there. Yes and no. It depends on what you're doing, right? What you see a lot of times that gets a lot of views on social media is never pay a debt collection company. Never pay them because they don't own the account or whatever the circumstance is. And I always go back to the underwriter. If you're trying to buy a home, you're trying to get a car, and they see a collection account, whether they don't care who owns the account, if there's a derogatory collection account on your credit profile, you're not gonna get approved unless you pay it. Right? So yes, paying a debt collection account, if you have to settle out or pay it in full, whatever the circumstance is, and I do have a plug with regards to that. I have Debt Negotiator Pro. That's in the section if you want to learn how to save and so forth. But if it's not going to be deleted off of your credit profile, because once you do pay it, it's true. You pay it today, now for the next 7 years, it will report on your credit profile as a paid account, a paid collection account. Underwriting, if you're trying to buy a home or something, then you're going to have to do that. Now, if you can wait till the 7 years come out, you're not going to apply for anything credit, then you can hold out and wait. You can do that. Another thing is you can dispute the account, right? So that's my take on that. If you want to try and negotiate a pay to delete, what is this? Cad Turner. You want to try and negotiate a pay to delete. Now, one of the ways that you want to do that is right before you actually pay. So you negotiate your settlement, right? You're going to haggle on the price. Once you get the price, you want to get it in writing first. So you have them email it to you or whatnot before you actually make the payment. And then once you get that information, then you say, oh, one more thing. Because now, as a collector, we're real motivated to get this money from you. I need a pay to delete. So if you need a copy of a pay to delete, I don't know if you've grabbed one before, but in the link, you get 4 letters. So it's called a free letter bundle. You get the pay to delete, you get the debt validation letter, you get a Goodwill letter, as well as you get a something else. Pay to delete, Goodwill letter, cease and desist letter with regards to that. So it depends. If you're trying to buy a home, then you're going to have to pay it because you're not going to get approved. A car, certain credit cards. Now, if you got time and you just want to wait, then yeah, wait the 7 years and then it should come off your credit profile and as if it was never there, and you're good to go. So that's when it depends on your situation and your circumstance. I'm not a person going to tell you not to pay debt collections. I do credit repair now. I don't tell people to do that all the time, because they're gonna come a time where you're gonna have to pay some of that debt, and so that's how it's done with regards to that. Any other questions? Any other questions? Put them down in the comment section. We've had a lot of questions. I am happy that you guys are here. Hit that like button, as well as, if you're brand new to my channel, consider subscribing with regards to that. So yeah, who would I send the letters to, the company or the bureaus? So are you saying the dispute letters? The dispute letters, I would say to the credit bureaus, right? If you're sending dispute letters, you want to send it to credit bureaus. But you got to understand, the credit bureaus aren't on your side. And I'm going to tell you guys this. Again, credit bureaus are not on your side. They can care less, because you as a consumer, you're not paying them. How they make money, which I know for a fact, when I place the accounts on people's credit report, you have to pay a fee to do so. So if an account was taken off of your credit report because you disputed the accounts, then they no longer get paid from that creditor. So if I was paying them and someone disputed it and for whatever reason was deleted off, I'm no longer paying the credit bureaus anymore to report that account on your credit report. So you're going to have to send the letters to the credit bureaus. But understand they're not on your side. So sometimes I see people, they give up after the first or second letter. They'll get something called verified. That's why it's very key that you're not sending a letter that everyone sends, like some type of generic letter. You want to put the verbiage the correct way with regards to that. And Kat Turner, if you wanted help with regards to that, I did put my email in the chat as well as in the description, and I could coach you on that. Obviously, it'll be a fee with regards to doing that, because there's specific letters that you're going to want to send out with regards to dispute them. But I always send them to the credit bureaus, because they're the ones who can contact the creditors with regards to getting the stuff updated and removed. So I say that way. But if you're sending a debt validation letter or something along those lines, you're going to want to send it to the original creditor or the debt collection company who actually has your account with regards to that. So any other questions with regards to credit and debt? If you have them, put them in the comment section. I keep saying that because as I am growing, one of my taglines that I say at the end of every video, if you have any questions, put them in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions, and then I'll obviously end with "you be great," because I believe that. But as I am growing, it's going to become harder and harder to respond to these comments, and I'll do the comments on live a lot of times as well, so you can put it in there. So if you're brand new, if you're coming in, if you have a question about credit or debt, or a question about anything, life in general, but specifically credit and debt, put it down there. I consider myself an expert. I'm not being cocky. I've been in this business for so long. It's the first real job I ever had was debt collections. And then I've been doing credit repair officially for about 2 years. But the reality is probably about 8 or 9 years helping friends and family with regards to that. So if you have any questions, put it in the comment section. I hope I can help it out. Kat Turner, hopefully I answered your question. I know I can go on tangents at times, but that's what it is. Yep, no problem. So, the third part of cleaning up your credit, unless I see another comment in this comment section, I'm going to go to this. If you got rid of every negative account on your credit profile, your credit score will probably still be in the 5s or the 6s. The third part, which is very important, after you budget it, and now we've gotten rid of those derogatory accounts off of your credit profile, whether we paid, settled them out, or we got them deleted, is the credit building aspect of stuff, right? There are shortcuts with regards to establishing the credit history, right? Building out the credit. You can do the prepaid. I say prepaid cards because that's basically what you're doing. But you can do the secured credit cards, right? Secured credit card is where you can go down to your financial institution. Hopefully, if you're banking on the personal side, you're with a credit union. If you're building business credit, you go with the big banks. Chase, Wells Fargo, whatever. Chase is my favorite. But nevertheless, hey, what's up, Jay? What's up, man? This guy, Second Exodus, born. I've known him since I was a kid. And not only that, we have the same birthday, December 23rd. But on the building side of credit, right, you can get a secure credit card where you go down to your financial institution, you give them $500, $1,000, $3,000. They'll give you the credit, a card with that credit. They'll hold that money just in case you fail because you're trying to establish and build credit with a secure credit card. And typically about 6 months to a year of making sure you're making the payments and doing everything, depending on the financial institution. That's why I say credit unions, because a lot of credit unions, they'll give you that money back. Some of them won't give you the money back, but you start building credit. It'll take you about a year, sometimes 2 years of making those payments on time, using your credit cards like debit cards. Only spend what you have in the bank. And if you get those type of cards, I don't knock you for it, but that's a route that you can go. The other route that I think you should go is authorized user, right? You find somebody who has credit established 5 years plus, 3 years plus, even 2 years plus if you're just now starting out. And you get to piggyback off of their credit. You got to make sure they don't have late payments and they don't max out the credit cards, right? And as soon as that trade line is placed on your credit, then boom, your credit history, you get to piggyback off of that, you get it. Now understand, with underwriting, they're getting a lot more technical with your underwriting. And there are a lot of stuff out there saying, hey, AU accounts don't work. They do work, right? But it's just a little more different. As an underwriter, if I'm looking at your credit profile, you got to understand. I understand. If I see that you have an authorized user account, then I'm going to look at it a little different. But it's a great way because once that is added, I've done it for so many people. Add them as an authorized user on my credit. If you don't know one for free, I have some. You can pay for it, obviously. But you add it on there. And then once the trade line pops up, like my brother who was asking in the comment, January official, he was looking for that trade line. Once it pops up on your credit profile, then strategically you want to go and apply for a credit card. And once you get approved for a credit card, instead of getting approved for $300 to $500, you can get $3,000 or even higher, depending on what your credit profile is. I've done it for my sister. I remember she never had a credit card, probably over three grand or whatnot. Add her as an authorized user on one of my credit cards as a strategic play. We obviously have to make sure your credit is clean too. You don't want to have derogatory accounts and add an AU account and expect your credit to go up. Underwriters are going to still see you as risky. So you got to get rid of the derogatory accounts. You got to get rid of the late payments and all of that type of stuff. Then you add the AU account. And with that AU account, I guarantee you when you apply for credit, you'll get higher balances. Now understand, credit unions are going to give you higher credit card balances off the bat, right? I like credit unions on the personal side with business. I mean, not with business, but with personal credit and checking accounts because they are not publicly owned, right? So their money is not based off of stockholders. Credit unions are privately owned, so how do they make money? By giving you loans, and they want to give you loans at the best interest rates. That's why a lot of credit unions, they'll run your credit before you can even get approved because they know banks have a thing called fractional reserves. Every single dollar you put into the bank, they're able to lend out $3 to your dollar. That's where it gets a little monkey in that area. I'm not a big advocate on that, but because if everyone tries to take the money out, it's not there. That's why they consider it a credit. But that's a whole nother story with regards to that. But at least they're privately owned. So their money is made off of you as a consumer. The bigger banks, their money is made off of the stock market, the stockholders, the shares. So that's why they're nickel and diming. You overdraft, you do this, you do that. You got to pay this amount every single month to have the account if your balance is under a certain thing. Credit unions typically don't have those types of issues. Now, on the flip side, with business accounts, I always say go with the big banks because with the credit unions, they're smaller on the business side, right? So typically, they're going to want you to have a business established for 2 years before they start giving you lines of credit and credit cards. But with the big banks, you can get the 50K. I know any of you guys who are on social media, you see 50K no docs and how to stack and do all these types of things. I actually am an expert in doing that. But nevertheless, that's why the big banks matter because they have deeper pockets because of the shareholders and so forth. So if you have a business and you're just starting out, obviously you got to have your personal credit set up and there's a way you can get established. Then you go with the net 30, net 60 accounts, get your gas cards and so forth, and then you can build it out. But you want to go with the big banks as far as business credit goes, because they'll give you, 50K credit cards or a line of credit or whatnot right off the bat with no docs, because they have the deep pockets to do so. And a lot of times with businesses in general, people are a lot more responsible. But ultimately, that's the thing. You start off with the personal credit, you get that all built up. And then I always tell everybody on the building part, you got to start the side hustle, right? Start the side hustle, leverage your personal credit on the business side. So when you get approved, what I did with my credit repair company is, if you have questions, put it down in the comment section. What I did with my credit repair company is, when I started out, I opened up my checking account. I probably owned with like $50 or whatever the bare minimum was with regards to that. And then I leveraged my personal credit. So I got 2 credit cards and $10,000 credit limits on both of those credit cards, 0% interest for, it was like 12 to 16 months. I don't remember. It was a while back. And guess what? I was able to leverage my personal credit. So what ends up happening is yes, I give a personal guarantee. So if I default on these credit cards, then it does go on my personal credit. But if I max the credit cards out, trying to build my business, now I have cash, because typically you got to start with net 30 accounts. And if you start with a net 30 account, you got to get something through Quill. And so in order to get that, you got to buy something from there. What's the problem with businesses starting out? Capital. So if you got to buy, first of all, you ain't got no money in that business account. And now you got to buy stupid overinflated stuff through the net 30s. It hurts you. That's why if you get your personal credit set up first, then you can leverage that personal credit. And then that'll help you in the beginning. So now, right off the bat, you just open the account up, you get your articles of information, whether you're filing an LLC or whatnot, you get your EIN number, right? You got to have that in order to open the actual checking account. And now you can leverage the personal credit and get the 2 business credit cards. And now, with me, I remember those credit cards were maxed out. I don't do that on the personal side. I don't recommend it on the personal side. But on the business side, they don't have credit utilization. So as long as you're making those payments on time, you're cool. And I get to hide debt initially, but not in an irresponsible way. You want to, obviously use that credit to help scale and grow and build your business. And you're going to make mistakes. I did advertising. I wasted a lot of money doing that with regards to the business. But guess what? I was able to start right off the bat. I was able to buy my computer. I was able to buy my laptop, right? Everything that I have is Apple. I was able to do all of that by leveraging my personal credit, by getting business credit cards, given a personal guarantee. That's what you need to do with regards to that. If you're just now joining, be sure to hit the like, put down in the comment section. If you have a question about credit or debt, throw it down there. I'll definitely answer it for you with regards to that. I'm going to stress this again. This is a luxury. I'm small now. Take advantage, because as time progresses, and you guys know, as you grow and you get bigger and bigger, it becomes harder and harder to do this. But I'm going to make an effort to make sure that I do answer questions about credit and debt, because it's how I learned, right? It's not taught in schools for the most part. I heard something in Florida. They're bringing some type of curriculum to teach you about taxes, right? Which we don't learn about, and then credit, the importance of credit and so forth. But for the most part, all of us learned about credit from our parents. And if our parents weren't educated in credit, then you're going to suffer that way as well. With regards to that. So there are still 5 people in the chat now. Are there any questions from any of you guys 5? Are you guys supporting? You guys, my supporters here, just support me on here. Listen to what I have to say. That's awesome as well. If you don't have a question, no biggie with regards to that. But as far as mental health goes and credit, I want you guys to understand something. All credit can be restored. I don't care how much debt you're in. I don't care if you're being sued. I don't care what the circumstance is. You just have to get a hold of it, right? You can't ignore it. If you ignore it, you're gonna continuously have problems. But all credit can be restored. Don't stress out about it. Understand that when you're cleaning up your credit, whether you're hiring a professional, which I recommend me, or you're doing it on your own, or or someone else, have patience. A lot of us mess up our credit 3-4 years. We mess up our credit, and then in 3 months, you're going to some company and expecting everything to be cleaned up in 3 months. It just doesn't work that way. Now, there are times where that can happen, but have patience, right? Be willing to, understand that it's a process, and it's going to take some time, right? It took you time to mess it up. It's going to take you some time to build it, and then the habits and the stuff that you're going to have to change your mindset with regards to that, you're going to have to do that concerning that. So it's been about an hour. I'm going to try and do these lives once a week. Next week I will be out of town, so I know I won't do it. As far as my shorts and all that, I got to figure out a way to keep this stuff going, because I've been getting a lot of views thanks to you guys with regards to my YouTube. Share it with a friend or a family. If you like the information that I've been given, my challenge to you 6 people that are viewing now, that you take my YouTube URL, if I've helped you or you like the information, or maybe you're brand new, and you share it with 3 of your friends. Get this information out. Credit is everything. I don't care who you are, what the situation is. I don't care where you grew up. America is based on credit. Credit is not a bad thing as long as you don't abuse it. Debt is not a bad thing. You have good debt, you have bad debt. Bad debt is buying crap that you don't need, which is the American way. I've been there. I know. You can't afford this. You want that. You want this. And the next thing you know, you got this big debt on there. You're not supposed to use it for that. It's for emergencies, right? Your car breakdown, whatever the circumstances. I did a short on that. Or you use your credit cards like debit cards. Only spend what you have in the bank. Get the credit card. Set up your Netflix, your Hulu, your YouTube Premium, YouTube TV, whatever those, your energy bills, all those types of things that you already have budgeted, you're going to make payments on anyways. You set those bills up on that, right? You set the credit cards. You use the credit cards for those bills. You don't use the credit card for the brand new shoes you can't afford because you don't have the money. Now, if you can afford it, then use the credit card. Don't use the debit card. I ain't touch a debit card. Well, actually, I have to tell you, I'm always saying I haven't touched a debit card in many years. I actually the other day had to touch a debit card because I had to pull some cash, which is so weird. I don't even carry cash, but I had to pull some cash out to take care of something. But nevertheless, I don't use debit cards. I don't use them because they do nothing for me. Yes, the average person is going to help keep you disciplined so that you're only spending what you have in the bank. But once you change that mind state, you use the credit card, you're going to get the benefits from the credit cards. Whether it's a point, even if it's just 1 point, you get in something. And typically with credit cards, it's 10% of whatever the points that you're using. You get 5,000 points, 10%, no, 1%, I'm sorry, 10% would be $50 or $500 from 5,000, but it's typically 1% across the board. So whatever points system you're going to get, you got 5,000 points by using that credit card on your normal, everyday, average stuff. You'll get $50. With the debit card, I ain't giving you no $50, right? You ain't getting nothing. And then as you start understanding, you can start applying for the credit cards that are going to give you more points, right? You get 2.5 points, 3 points, 7 points, 5 points with regards to stuff. I always use the guy. I had a client spend $4,000 a month on groceries. He had a big family. He could afford to do it, but he was doing it on a debit card. I showed him how to get a credit card. I got approved for a credit card. He spent that $4,000 plus a month on the food that he was using with the debit card. He wasn't getting nothing. He was getting $400 back from doing that. Thanks for the thumbs up. So he's getting that money back. Use a credit card. You just got to have discipline. And all it takes is just thinking that it's a debit card and you're only going to spend it on the stuff that you have. Set the automations that you have going. Those automatic debits that's coming out of your checking account should be on a credit card. And then you just got to remember to pay it back. Budget, set it up, pay it back. And then as you start getting your money right and getting more credit and you're making more money, then it's the trips, right? Now, you're going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to go on that trip. Hit it on a credit card. Then we already said $5,000, you get $50 back. And if you do it right, you can get so much more. You can allow those points to stack like I do. And when you go on vacation, you're going on for free by just using your credit cards like debit cards, right? That's what makes sense. Those of you who be making these big transactions, I come across them all the time. People have businesses and so forth, and they put that money in their debit card or their personal account. They're buying stuff. You paying for advertising, all this stuff on your debit card, man, put it on your credit. Get something for it. At least with your credit card, you'll get something for it. Yeah, but what about the interest? You don't have the interest if you pay it on the statement due date or the statement bill date, you pay it to zero. Then you don't have interest. And if an emergency comes up, a statistic that I've seen so many times is if a $400 emergency comes up, 85% of Americans won't be able to take care of that. Don't have it in the bank, don't have the credit to take care of it because everything's maxed out. There's no reason why you should be that way. I'm not coming down on you because I was once in that same predicament, but that's what it is. I'm going to wait probably another minute or so. If anybody has a question, put it in the comment section. I will answer it about credit or debt. Otherwise, thank you guys for tuning in. No more debit cards. I'm telling you. I see people using debit cards and I take it personally. I get upset because I know that the benefits of the credit card, you can get so much more. It just takes discipline, though. It's not easy. I ain't sitting here telling you I've had my crap together my whole life. I haven't. I just recently got it together, and I'm a little shaky with regards to stuff now. You know, we got a lot. You know, like I told you, my mother and father-in-law passed away. We all bought a house pretty much together, and so now their income's gone. So now I got to make it up, right, with regards to that. So you know, you just live and you learn, man. And I was on cruise control, right? I was on cruise control just doing enough to get by. And you got to get out of that, right? That complacency situation. I do it. I'm guilty of it. But we learn. Hold each other accountable and we learn. We hold each other accountable and we learn with regards to that. So it seems like there are no more comments. There are no more questions with regards to credit and debt. I want to thank each and every one of you guys who came in, you watched this. If you didn't, hit that like button. Hit the like button because obviously it'll be another recording. It'll be left up for anybody else to see with regards to that. Like I state to every single one of you guys, and I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart, be great. It's a mind state. Till next time. Not next week, but the week after that. And hopefully we start getting more and more people in here asking about credit and debt. Thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time, be great.